Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Last week, we studied Cūḻadukkhakkhandhasutta, greater explanation of the longer discourse on the mass of suffering that we studied last week. Today, we're going to continue the sutta. It is the 14th number of sutta from Majjhima Nikaya, the shorter discourse on mass of suffering. Okay, Cūḻadukkhakkhandhasutta. The Mahadukkhakkhandha and Cūḻadukkhakkhandha has a lot of similarity, but here in this sutta there is one thing that is really related with us, and it starts early in the sutta, but as we progress in this sutta, we understand these are the real difficulties is not only just in our life, but in people's life also, and how can overcome them. Evam me sutang, thus I have heard, ekang samaya bhagava sakkesu viharati kapilavattusmi nigrodharami. The Blessed One was dwelling in the Shakyans Kapilvastu village in Nigrodharama, with a huge banyan tree was there in that. Atako Mahanama Sakko Yena Bhagava Tenupa Sankami. At the time that the Mahanama Sakya, Mahanama, he went up to the Buddha, bowed down, and after worshipping, he sat down at one side. This Mahanama Shakya, it's one of the Supreme Buddha's cousin brother. Okay, the Supreme Buddha's father Suddhodana has the 5 brothers, you know. So the Suddhodana, Sakkodana, Sukkodana, Dhotodana, Amitodana. So these are the brothers. And then Amita name was their sister. He was the Sukkodana's second brother's son was Mahanama. Okay. After the Tathagata and Nanda, the Suddhodana's son, already became a monk. Then the Mahanama was the one who can undertake the kingdom. He was also listening to the Supreme Buddha's Dhamma. In his mind, this thought came to him. So he asked this one question to the Buddha. Digaratang bhante bhagavata evang dhammang desitang ajanami. Means for a long time, Bhante, that I'm listening your teaching and I understood these things like this. What he said? Loho chittasa upakileso. The greed is a corruption of the mind, dirt of the mind. Okay, so doso chittasa upakileso. The hate, it is also corruption of mind. Moho chittasa upakileso. Delusion is also corruption of mind. Evang chahang bhante bhagavata dhammang desitang ajanami. That this is the thing that I have understand from the Supreme Buddha's teaching. अतकोपन में एकदा लोभधमपि चित्तं पर्यादाय तिष्ठति. So he said, despite understanding this, means I have understand, yes, the Buddha is explaining these things, and I also see that, okay, it is in Supreme Buddha's teaching, and this is the corruption of mind, that I understand. Even though after having that also, time to time, or sometimes that my mind is uh, occupied by thought of greed, hate, and delusion. This is the same thing happens with all of us, isn't it? That we understand from the teaching that this is not a good, this is not good. This is the obstacle for our path of Dhamma. This is the thing that Supreme Buddha explains, drag us or take us into the long journey of samsara. We should avoid to engage in these activities that we understand this, as the Buddha has explained. But time to time, our mind occupies in those things, run towards those things. So he said to Supreme Buddha Bhante, this is happening. Then Tassamayang Bhante Evang Hosi. Then he said, I wonder that kosu nama me dhammo ajjattang appahino yena me ekada lok dhamma pichittang paridaya tittanti. Then he said, I wonder what qualities remain in me that I have such a thought. Okay, which one? That the hatred, greed, and delusion, these things occupied my mind. So Supreme Buddha explained to him. So what did Supreme Buddha say? Buddha explained, Evang sokhote mahanama dhammo ajjattang appahino yenate ekada lobdhammapi chittang paridaya tittati. Supreme Buddha says, Mahanama, there is a quality that remains in you that makes you have such a thought. So it doesn't come without the means those thoughts, it does not automatically comes. There are something still remains in us, and that's why this kind of thought is comes. What the Supreme Buddha explained, he said, Sochahite mahanama dhammo ajjatang pahino abhavissa nattvang agarang ajjavaseyasi na kame paripunjayasi. He said, when someone get rid of that one thought, this one dhamma is finished from him, and it is not coming back, and it is not building up in him, na kame paripunjayasi. So these things will not engage. Because of this one dhamma exist, that's why our mind, it's again and again occupying in this. Buddha gave the one simple answer that this is the Dhamma, and did not mention here first. He said, this Dhamma remains, and that's why our mind engages it. But if it is not stays there, if it is not there, then the person can get rid of them, enjoying sensual pleasure, Such a person will not stay at home. Means, simply Buddha is saying, if you understand this, Mana, if you have given up that quality, then you cannot stay in the household life or stay at home and enjoying the sensual pleasure. Because of you haven't get rid of it, you are still at home and then enjoying this sensual pleasure. Supreme Buddha said, Appasada kama bahu dukkha bahu payasa adinavo evam etta bhiyoti. Iti chepi mahanama arya savakasa yathabhutam samapanyaya tudittham hoti. Supreme Buddha says, Mahanama, the sensual desires have lot of suffering exist in it. It has a appasada, little gratification, and lot of adinava, drawbacks. So Buddha says, Mahanama arya savakasa yathabhutam samapanyaya. So the noble disciple understand these qualities very well. Socha anyatreva kamehi anyatrehi akusalehi dhammehi piti sukhang nadi gacchati anyang va tato santataram. Then Supreme Buddha said, that gratification is there and everything is there. He understands that this suffering, because of sensual desire, bring him suffering and those. So he separate himself from them. But if he does not find the happiness in other part, does not find his other part, means out of this sensual pleasure, then he come back toward this sensual pleasure. Simply for us, we are living at householder life. You are. And time to time, we are enjoying meditation and practicing Dharma life. We understand this life is a painful and suffering. So, in that moment, if someone does not achieve the peace from the practicing Dhamma, peace from mindful, peace from or happiness from the practicing Dhamma, what will happen? If he does not enjoy in it, then he will again utilizing or he will again go back to the sensual pleasure to have that happiness. That thing is they mentioned here. But if any noble disciple understand that there are this is the means he see through the clear vision that this sensual pleasure have a lot of means lot of suffering in it, and I want to get rid of this. So what he do? He find the pleasure from the religious life or find the pleasure from this other. And if he find there, then athakoso anavatti kamesu hoti. Then he does not come back to the sensual pleasure. This much you understand? Yes. In the books, it is also mentioned, but I utilize very simple words. It's very simple words. Means we are finding happiness in sensual pleasure because we do not know outside of this sensual pleasure happiness exists. But when a noble disciple understand, yes, in the practicing of Dharma, like someone understand there is a pleasure and happiness from the first jhanas. As soon as he achieving first jhana, he will be happy. So he will not engage himself in sensual pleasure. Instead of that, he will having that pleasure from the jhanas. So Supreme Buddha says, Mayampiko Mahanava Pubbeva Sambodha Anavi Sambuddhasas Bodhisattaseva Tato Appasada Kama Bahudukha Bahupayasa Adinavo Etta Bhiyoti. He said, Mahanama, when I was a Bodhisattva, okay, when I was Bodhisattva, did not become a Buddha yet, on that time, I also understand the same thing. What I understand that sensual pleasure gives a little gratification and much suffering and distress. And they are all the more full of drawbacks. He said, until I haven't until I haven't enjoyed gratification or peace from the other place, like from the religious practice, until that I was having this sensual desire, means always dragging my mind towards sensual desire. But as soon as I as soon as I realize that there is a happiness from other part, I did not rejoice in the sensual desire again anymore. So Buddha says, Kocha Mahanama Kamanang Asat. Then what is the gratification of sensual pleasure? Panchimik Mahanama Kamaguna. Mahanama, these are the 5 kinds of sensual stimulations are. What are the 5? So exactly it's mentioned in the Cūḻadukkhakkhandhasutta. In the same way, Buddha explains here also. He said, this Chakku Vijnana, from the eyes, the sight known by the eye, which is likable, desirable, agreeable, pleasant, sensual, and arousing. Ittha, Kanta, Manapa, Piyarupa, Kamupa Sanhita, Rajaniya. Sota Vijnana, sounds known by ear, smells known by nose, taste known by tongue, and touch known by body. These are all things. So Prabhupada said these are the 5 stimulations are there. Yanko Mahanama ime pancha kamagune paticca uppajati sukhang somanasam. When this is the five things, these are the five kinds of sensual stimulations. Pleasure and happiness that arise from these five kinds of sensual stimulation. This is the gratification of sensual pleasure. Ayam kamana asado. So from the eyes, ear, nose, tongue, body, whenever we have engaged in something, when there is a pleasure, it comes, we enjoy that pleasure. That is called kamana asado. And Kocha Mahanam Kamanam Adinavo. And what are the drawbacks of sensual displeasure? Either Mahanama, so the Buddha explained that in the last sutta, whatever we learn exactly is here. Okay, nothing has changed it here. Only the name has changed. Buddha says uh, this the person to earn the money from so various ways he earn the money. In that time, what he has to suffer? He has to suffer from the heat, cold, rain, and all the different kind and insects, mosquitoes, He's suffering from those. For what? To earn the money from there. So kamana adinavo sandittiko. So this is the drawback from the sensual for the finding or sensual pleasure of, and we can visibly see here at this moment. Like every day, if someone want to have the enjoyable life, what he has to? He has to suffer first. Then he has to enjoy the life. Then the furthermore, Supreme Buddha explained, when the person uh, take the effort but does not give the fruit to him, then also he said, oh, that my all the effort has gone. Means always what we do will not succeed. We will not succeed always. So that is also he thinks. When he think that yes, what I have done, that is successful, and then he is happy for that. So that is also one of the drawbacks. It is visible that our effort does not give result always fruitful. Then he has the always fear that this wealth, what I have gained from, it can be taken by king, or it can be taken by the thieves, the fire can burn it, the water can take it, or the next kin of mine, which is I do not like, so unlikable successor, uh, that person can take it from me. That fear is constantly in him. So by thinking of again and again, he internally he suffers from that. That is also visible drawback for the sensual desire or sensual pleasure in this world. That is also visible here. Furthermore, Supreme Buddha says, Kama hetu kama nidana. So for the earning this sensual desire, for getting this sensual pleasure, for the sensual happiness, the pleasure, what happened? The people fight with each other. King fight with king, the warriors fight with warriors, Brahmin fight with Brahmin, all the fights, the brother fight with brother, mother and father, they fight, brother fight with sisters, and all kind of fights are there. you know some of the time they take the weapon also to strike on each other in a different way. So Supreme Buddha says Titatha maranampi nigachati, or maranamattampi dukkam. Some of the time they pass away, or some of the time they suffer as they are dying. That much also pain, or there's suffering also. Some of the time they utilize the different kind of weapons. You know, those weapons also, it is harmful. This is all happening for what? To take or for the seeking of for the sake of sensual pleasure. And that is also visible here. in this very life. Some of the time when this happening, the king or the someone captures that person and gives the different of variations of uh, punishments. So all the punishments is mentioned in last week. We learn a little bit. So those are also happens only for what? For the sake of happiness. For achieving happiness in our life, what the people do? They goes to others and they steal from there. When they are captured, whole life they spend in there. For happiness, to gain the happiness, some of the time for the pleasure, they kill another person. And that also take us them to get the punishment or for their entire life. These are the drawbacks of sensual pleasure. And then Supreme Buddha says, but the different kind of suffering is there he can face. Another thing is Supreme Buddha says, for the sake of sensual pleasure, the person engages in bodily misconduct, engages in verbally misconduct, engage himself in mentally misconduct, engaging in the bodily, verbally, and mentally misconduct. After breakup of the body, after death, this person they are reborn into the place of loss, bad place, and unwanted underworld in hell. Such a person was. Supreme Buddha says that is the drawback of sensual pleasure to do with lives to come. Samparayika. Adinavo samparayiko. The mass of suffering caused by sensual pleasure. That is also visible in this life. So, Supreme Buddha says, now the sutta is, it from here, it changes a little bit different. In the last sutta, up to this, we have learned properly. And that is visible here. If we investigate in our life for the sensual pleasure, this all things happen. Supreme Buddha says, Ekamidahang mahanama samayang rajagahe viharami gijjakoti pabate. On one time, I was dwelling at Rajagaha, the Vulture's mountain, peak of Vulture's mountain. Tena kopana samayana sambahula negatta isigili passe kalasilaya ubbattaka hoti asana patikhita. Supreme Buddha says, on that time, several Jain ascetics, the Niganthas, on the slope of Isigili mountain, they were standing there, where in the very hot temperature, they were standing outside, refusing to sit down. So they have given up the one posture, like four postures are there, standing, sitting, walking, and laying down. So one of the postures they have given up. They have given up the sitting. They were just standing in that heat. So by doing that, they felt a painful, sharp, very severe, feeling. And due to the overexertion, they were suffering a lot on that time. Like if someone asks you to stand in the queue, and when there is a very heat, what happened? After a couple of minutes, we wanted to sit down somewhere. We ask another person, okay, can you look at for my place? When the new iPhone launches, that time there is a huge line some of the time. So something like this. So they were intentionally doing that. They were not looking for something else to buy, but they were intentionally doing. So Supreme Buddha says, Atakwahang Mahanama Sayana Samayana. In the evening time, I also came down from that, means I visited that where these Nigantas were standing, and I asked them this way. What he asked, Supreme Buddha asked, Kinutume also Niganta Ubattaka, why, reverence, why are you constantly standing, refusing seat, so that you suffer painful, sharp, because of the over exertion. You're feeling, you're suffering due to that. when the Supreme Buddha asked this question, this Nigantha replied to the Buddha. They said, Niganto ausu nata putto sabbanyu sabbadasavi apari sesam jnana dasanam patijanati. They said toward their teacher that our master who knows the all things, all means all knowing, all seeing, and know and see everything without expectation, exception. Means the Buddha's quality they are explaining about their teacher. For the teacher, everyone brag about their teacher. So they were also saying, he has said these things. What? Charatocha me tittatocha that I know everything, what is happening by walking, knowing, all the time, sleeping, standing. I'm awakened of all the time. So this teacher who has these qualities, he has said, Athi kovo nigantha pubbe papakammam katang tang imaya katukaya dukkara karyaya nijjiretha yang panethang etarahi kayana sanghuta vachaya sanghuta manasa sanghuta tang ayating papasa kammasa akaranam. So he said, Nigantas, what you should do by suffering. I mean, we have done lot of bad things in our previous life. Okay, so by this ascetic way, by suffering, get rid of this previous karma. Means like his teaching is something that you have done in your previous life, lot of bad karma, lot of things you have done wrong. So in this life, punish yourself, suffer yourself. So the previous karma can be finishes. And in here, now, what you should do? Restrain yourself by the body, speech, and mind, that you will not do this bad karma furthermore. As you are finishing previous karma by suffering and not doing something bad at today's karma, what will happen? Then that your Puranam Kammanam Tapasa Bhyanti Bhava, the previous karma, by practicing this harsh or severe practice, it will be finished. Navanam Kammanam Akarana, that new karmas, new deeds are not happening anymore. Vedana Kaya Sabbang Dukkhan Mijjinang Bhavisati, that all the suffering has finished from here. With no further consequences, deeds ends. Without the ending of the deeds, suffering ends. This is his teaching. Tangcha panamahakang ruchyati cheva khamati cha tena cheva attamanati. So they said that we endorse and accept this and that we are satisfied with it. So this teaching is mentioned. Today also some of the time the people are engaging in these things. Simply in this way, in this conversation, Buddha explained these things. He asked from the Niganthas, what he asked, that why you are giving punishment to yourself, why you are standing here and suffering. So he said, this Niganthas said, our teacher who knows everything, he has given us this explanation. What he said is that our teacher said this thing, that in our previous life, we have done a lot of bad things. So by suffering, by harsh treatment, we can get rid of that karma. If you suffer a lot, then your previous karma will be finished. And in this life, restrain yourself from doing anything. Then the new karma will not happen. By finishing previous karma and not collecting new karma, there will be no suffering remains. And then we will be liberated. That is his teaching. And they said, we accept this teaching. And that's why we are suffering now. Buddha says, Eva gutte ahang mahanama te nigante etu vocha. As I listened this, then I said to them, what? King pantumya ausu niganta janatha. Ahuam meva mayang pubbena nahuam mati. Supreme Buddha asked, Reverends, do you know for sure that you exist in the past and it is not the case that you did not exist. So simple question is asked. Do you think that you were in previous life? Or you are sure of that? They said, no, we don't know that. Does King Bantumya also Niganta Janat? Do you know that Akaran meva mayang pubbe papakamma nakaramati? That previously did bad deeds in past life? Or are you sure of that, that in the last life that you have done a lot of bad things? They said, no, we don't know that we did the bad things. So the Buddhas, okay, so eva rupama e rupama papakamma that you did such and such bad deeds. Specifically, are you sure that in previous life you have done this kind of bad deeds? They said, we are not sure. We don't know. Even now, for us, if with the Buddhas, do you know that you exist previously? Because of Supreme Buddha's teaching, that we can say, yes, we were there, you know. But we will never be sure that in past life that we have done this kind of wrongdoings. We can just accumulate or just can think, okay, because I'm suffering like here, I have done something in past. But surely we don't know that what kind of actions we have done in past life. When we have the Pubbenivasanusati, then means knowledge of previous life, then we can say. But for now, Buddha just asking them. So you are suffering because you said your teacher is saying that in your past life you have done something wrong. And here, Buddha asked that, ettakang cha dukkhang nijjinnang, ettakang cha dukkhang nijjiretabang. Do you know that by suffering, by giving the painful treatment, harsh treatment, that this much of suffering is finished, this much of bad deeds has worn out, and this much has remained. After this much has finished, I will be liberated. Can you calculate that much? He said, no, we don't know. For us also, it's a similar thing, you know. Then, King Pantumya also, Nigantha Janat, Ditteva Dhammya Kusalanang Dhammanang Pahanaya, Kusalanang Dhammanang Upasambadanti. That in this very life, that do you means about the giving up unskillful qualities in the very life and embracing skillful qualities. And they said, we don't understand that either. We don't know. So Supreme Buddha says, when I asked you these questions, that you were in previously there or not, you said no. When I asked you that, do you remember that you have done this bad karma in previous life? You said, I don't know. Do you remember when I asked you that this much of bad karma you did, and now you are finishing it? So this much, after finishing this much of suffering, you will be liberated. You understand that? They said, you replied, you don't know. Supreme Buddha says that Evang Sante also Niganta ye loke luddha lohita panino kuru, that in your previous life, when those in the world who are violent and bloody-handed and cruel livelihood are born among humans, they go forth as a jhana ascetics. Buddha says, if means in previous life, did you were the someone something like that, very cruel, did a very bad karma? Are you the one who born and suffering here? So they said, we don't understand that either, you know. Nako also Gautama Sukhena Sukhang Adigattabha. They said simply, Reverend Gautama, pleasure is not gained through the pleasure. Pleasure is gained through the pain. Their reply was that, you know, see, when the wrong teacher comes in our life, this kind of thoughts arise. Their teacher is saying that you are suffering because you have done in past life a lot of bad things. If you suffer today, you'll finish. So Buddha's reply was simple. Do you believe that you were in the bad past life, you were a very wrongful person? So their reply was that because previous life we have means we cannot gain happiness through the happiness. When we suffer through the pain, we can gain happinesses. So the Buddha said to them, Sukhena Chaoso Gautam Sukhang Adigattabha Abhavis Raja Magado Senior Bimbisaro Sukhang Adigacheya Raja Magado Senior Bimbisaro Sukhavai Sukha Viharati Ayasmata Gautamenati. He said, through through the for the pleasure were being gained through the pleasure, King Senior Bimbisara of Magadha would gain pleasure since he lived in greater pleasure than Venerable Gautama. Uh, they gave the one example like this. What they said, from the happiness, happiness cannot be gained. From the pain, happiness can be gained. If in example they give the Bimbisara, the king Bimbisara, he's staying in very comfortable place, but he's not getting more happiness through that because Venerable Gautama is living in harsh condition and he's more happy in that way. So Supreme Buddha said to them, is that true? Means dukkhena ko sukhang adigachantan. Uh, from the suffering, from the pain, uh, the happiness can be gained. So clearly the venerables have spoken rashly without understanding, without knowing this properly, without reflecting about their words. So they asked, Supreme Buddha said to them, you should have asked this question to, you should have said to this, that who lives in the greater pleasure, King Bimbisara or Venerable Gautama? That should be you have asked. They said, then apicha ahameva tatta patipuchchitabbo. So then they said, okay, forget of previous conversation. Then now we ask Venerable Gautama, who lives in greater pleasure, King Bimbisara or Venerable Gautama? Supreme Buddha replied to them. What the Buddha says, Sukhena Chaoso Gautama Sukhang Adigachat Gachattabang Bhavisa. So Raja Magado Senior Sukha Viharatita Ayasma Gautamenati Apichatitari Itandapimaya Puchana Gautama Konubu Sukhanyaro Ayasma Gautama. So simply they also said that okay, Bhante, when means please give us an answer that who is living in a pleasure, the king Bimbisara or the master Gautama? Buddha gave the reply to them. Buddha explained in beautiful way. What he said, Tena hausu nigantha tummev tatta patipuchchisan. Okay, let me ask you this. You replied as you understand. Tanking manyatha also nigantha pahoti tat raja magado seniya Bimbisaro Anijamano kaina abhasamano vachang satta rattin divani ekanta sukhang patisangvedi viharantuti. Supreme Buddha asked from them, okay, let me ask you one thing, and as you understand, please answer by yourself. Okay, what do you think, Reverence, that the King Bimbisara capable of experiencing perfect happiness for 7 days and nights without moving his body or speaking? They said, no, he is not. Means the King Bimbisara cannot enjoy the happiness without moving his body or without speaking a word for 7 days. Buddha says, okay, let go of 7 days. Remember only 6 days, 5 days, 4 days, 1 day. Can he enjoy the happiness without moving his body or without uttering the word? They said, no, he cannot do that, even not a single day or night. He cannot enjoy the happiness without doing this. Supreme Buddha says, Ahanko auso nigantha pahomi anijamano kaina, without moving, but I am capable of experiencing perfect happiness for one day and night without moving my body or speaking. Buddha says, I can enjoy that one day. So let the one day go. I can understand, I can have that happiness and pleasure for 2, 3, 4, or 7 days without moving body or without uttering the word. Then he asks, Tanking manyatha, so nigantha, evang sante ko sukhaviharito, rajava magado seniya bimbisaro, ahangvati. What do you think? Who are having more happiness and pleasure in this world? King Bimbisara or I? Evan Santyasmata Gautamo Sukhavyarito. This replied to him, uh, this being so Venerable Gautama lives the greater pleasure than King Bimbisara. Okay, so this is the explanation the Supreme Buddha gave. In the conclusion of this sutta, what is Buddha explained here? In entire conclusion of Buddha explained that time to time we are looking for, because Mahanama asked Bhante, we understand this is the dirt of our mind, or corruption of mind. What? The raga, dvesha, and moha, greed, hate, and delusion. We understand that even though time to time we engage in this. Buddha says the reason is that because if the person understands that completely, how to enjoy the pleasure without having the greed, hatred, without that, the person will completely be freed. The person cannot stay at home. He will become a monk. In a commonly of also monks also, what happened? Time to time, our mind is also dragging ourselves toward this sensual pleasure all the time, because we are unable to enjoy the peace elsewhere. Like if we are trying to do meditation and if we are unable to succeed in it, it becomes very difficult to again engage in that, again practicing the meditation. And that's why automatically we move that time towards somewhere else by going somewhere else, or looking the videos in our mobile, because we haven't found the peace there. If we find the peace in practicing meditation or practicing Dhamma life, then our mind will not go towards sensual pleasure from outside source. Buddha says, such a thought I also had when I was a bodhisattva. But once I understand that meditations gives the utter pleasure, the best pleasure, from that moment my mind did not went back to the sensual desire. I did not seek the sensual pleasure in outside world. Then Buddha said, I saw the previously when I was staying in the Gijjakuta Pabbata, there was the Nigantas. They were staying there, giving the harsh treatment to themselves, punishing themselves in a kind of way. And he asked, why you are suffering? So they said, our teacher told us that previously we have done a lot of bad karma, and that's why if we suffer today, our previous bad karma will be finished. And if we restrain today not to do anything wrong, then previously is finished, new is not happening, then automatically we will be liberated. Buddha asked a couple of questions. Do you remember that previous life do you have done these things? They said no. Do you remember this? And do you know that this much is finished now, the bad karma, and this much is remain? They said we don't know. Do you think that you were in a previous life all the wrongdoer person? And that also answer they did not have. Buddha says, our teacher, Niganta says that their teacher explains this. From the happiness, happiness does not come. From the pain, that happiness can be gained. It is not true directly. So when the Buddha asked this question, they correct themselves. No, no, no. We said those words without proper understanding. Buddha said you should have asked this question: what? That who is living more happiest life, King Bibisara or now this Buddha? So after Buddha's question, they ask, okay, Bhante, tell us who is living. So the Buddha says, tell us, give me an answer. Can the Bimbisara stays without moving, without saying a word for 1 day or 7 days and enjoy the pleasure? They said no. But the Buddha can. Without moving, without saying the words, Buddha can say these things. So all the gratification, what the Buddha explains in here, Buddha is talking about the mental peace. When the person has the mental peace, that outside gratification, outside sensual pleasure, we do not try to seek for. We do not want to engage in that. So once inside we are attained the fruits of Dhamma, then our practice become more steady. If some of or one of you understand that, that's why I time to time says, enjoy when you're doing generosity. Enjoy in that generosity. Like when you give something, be happy for that. Because when you are offering something and you are happy, then you will not seek that happiness from something wrongdoing. When you are practicing virtue, be happy that I am a virtuous person. My life is not harming to myself, not harming to others. I am staying neutral and I'm happy with this life. Then we will not engage in something else. Like simply, people are intoxicating themselves. For what? To find the pleasure from intoxication. But if you are finding the same pleasure throughout the practicing Dhamma, are we going to intoxicate ourselves? No. The what happiness we are seeking from intoxication, that happiness we are having without intoxicating ourselves. So why should we do engage in that? That is the answer Buddha said here in this sutta. When you practice Dhamma and you have the happiness, then you do not seek that happiness from the sensual pleasure. That is the conclusion of entire sutta. So the Mahanama said, Bhante, even I understand that this greed, hate, and delusion is a corruption of mind. My mind engages time to time, or sometime my mind engages in that. Buddha says, once your mind is free from that thing, that gratification from the sensual pleasure from the outside, once that is finished, you will not find it there. You will not engage in greed, hate, and delusion. So for us also, that is the practice we have to do. What? Slowly take our focus from the sensual pleasure to move in the spiritual pleasure. If we enjoy that spiritual pleasure today, then automatically our life give up this sensual desire from outside world. Okay. Once this sutta is explained, Attamano Mahanama Sakko Bhagavato Bhasitang Abhinandanti. That Mahanama Sakya was very pleased and happy by listening this word. This is the call Cūḻadukkhakkhandhasutta. So this the sutta is finished and concluded here. I hope that you understand the sutta. Read couple of times. I did read couple of times, but English maybe I haven't done in English properly before. So the words can be different from the text, but the entire meaning, the summary is what I explain here. Okay, so read couple of times and you will see it's a beautifully explained. It directly related to our life. In previous sutta, mostly Buddha explained to the bhikkhus, but in this sutta, Buddha explained to the householder person who is running the kingdom, and they are finding the happiness, from these things. So he is also practicing Dhamma, but he said, I am not completing it. I am not fine. And time to time, the greed arise in me. Time to time, hatred arise in me. Time to time, delusion arise in me. What to do? And Buddha gave the solution to him. Okay, so this sutta may be helpful for all of us to understand the meaning of Dhamma. May this sutta be helpful for all of us to practice and achieve the fruits of Dhamma practice. May this sutta be helpful for all of us to realize this Dhamma in this Gautama Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Any questions? We can discuss a couple of minutes.
Bante, so, well, this is kind of like off topic, but kind of how how likely is it to be born into like a Buddhist era? Like how likely is it like
Uh,
somebody can be born into a Buddhist time? I mean, I know a Buddha is definitely a rare like, rare sighting, but yeah.
okay, it's not a rare because each and every one of us may have seen the Buddha previously, but it is rare occasion. On that time, we haven't heard the teaching from him, or we our practices was not completed. So that's why we are undertaken. But today, as we are practicing Dhamma, like today, if in any chance, if in this life we did not attain the stages of realization of Dhamma, then there is a most probability that we will be born in the next Buddha's time if we practice today properly. If we practice today and we did not attain the stages of enlightenment, then there is a lot of chances that we can born to the next Buddha's time or after that Buddha's time. So our today's practices will be helpful for attending them. That is a very, very good chances, because in a bodhisattva's life, it is mentioned in lot of times the bodhisattva also born where the Buddha was there, and the other also the disciples also, they were born also. Um, in the lot of time, it is seen in the Kasha Buddha's time or past of the Kasha Buddha. Like there was a one story. It comes that in previous time, in previous past Kasha Buddha's time, there was after passing away of Kasha Buddha, couple of people decide, okay, the Buddha's dispensation is recently finished, but we can still practice Dhamma. We can strive. So they ordain under another monk. There was no discipline on that time, so the Dhamma does not stays longer. After the great disciple and existing monks passed away, the Dhamma also vanished from that time. So these friends, they gather together, they become a monk under the another disciple, and then they stay practices. They saw the everywhere the everything is disappearing slowly, slowly. So they thought, if we live in the society, we will not be able to realize this. We should go away somewhere far. So what they did, they went on they saw the very huge rock, and they said, it is unable, anyone cannot, no one can climb on there. So they build a one wooden stairs, to climb up, and then they throw these stairs so no one can come down. So they are stuck above the rock, and they make that determination without realizing Dhamma, without becoming enlightened. We are not going. We are ready to starve. We're ready to die. So they strive that much to attain the fruits. Couple of monks, they become enlightened, and then they went out by the psychic power. But others were unable to. So they said, we are not eating anything until we do that thing. So without attaining that, they have strived a lot, but they did not attain the fruits. They passed away from that life. Here in this Buddha, they went up the heavenly world, and when the Buddha was here, these were the people. As soon as they saw the Buddha, listen to one word, and immediately they become enlightened. So the previous practice were there to help them to attain enlightenment. So there is a lot of chances in if today we do not understand, and in next if today's practice is very good, and in between time we do not come until the next Buddha arrives, if we do not come to the human world and do not do any wrong thing, then there is a 99% chances that we will go and visit the Buddha. Okay, I also hope sometime that that is the chance will come. But as we are living today's life, there is a very less chances that we will not born again in human world and will not do the bad things. But we can hope our good practices today can make us that. Okay.
Could you tell us again which sutta it was you were teaching from?
Okay, now this is from the Majjhima Nikaya, the book of first, sutta number 14th.
Thank you.
Cūḷadukkhakkhandhasutta. Yes.
There's a link in the chat. You click the link and it'll download the PDF.
90% of this sutta come from the previous sutta about the, what is the karma, sensual pleasure and desire. So it is there.
Now, Buddha Bhante, thank
Yes.
you for the wonderful sutta. How much of a factor does it play, like in terms of attaining jhanas? Does the past life impact attaining jhanas, or is it just the present life?
For some time, it does affect past life, but as we are following the Buddha's path today, today's practices also can give that achievement. So I will suggest by seeking the jhanas immediately, try to enjoy the everyday life of religious practice to become that much to become easier and easeful to sit down for meditation. It means when you are practicing virtue, be happy. Yes, I'm a virtuous person. When you do the generosity, develop that I am the person who practices generosity, and generosity gives me pleasure. When you're chanting something, chant, okay, these are the words of Buddha, and it explains the truth. So then, when you are sitting down for meditation, meditation is something that gives me the higher pleasure than engaging others. Isolates my mind, calm my mind, and something. So as you think more and more of this, the positivity of this, slowly your mind separates you from the worldly things, and then concentration become more easier. Then when you sit down, when you practice for the longer time, there is a chances that you can attain the jhanas. Once you attain the jhanas, life becomes little bit boring. Okay, remember that also. The common life becomes, because if you have tasted something more delicious, you will not have the common food. You will not enjoy that common things. Yes.
So in the household life, it's not possible to attain jhanas.
It is possible. No, it is possible. In the Buddha's explanation, means a lot of people, like all the great disciples, the lay devotees and female devotees, they were able to attain the jhanas. Even normal people also, they were able to attain the jhanas. But that time, the distractions was a little bit less. Today we have a lot. Like we have made a lot of things, like we are prone to, without looking at news, we cannot stay today. That time, someone will come and tell it is okay. So automatically, once we are come home from the office, we automatically switch on the TV and watch the news. Okay, what happened today? So our mind is engaged in that. Automatically we are, okay, this is the things we have. We have a lot of huge calendar. What our wrote, all the engagements are there. It is mentioned there. So our mind should be concentrated in one direction. Now there is a lot of things is there to do, and that's why we are unable to concentrate. But with a little bit of isolation, it is possible that we can attain the jhanas.
Thank you, Bante.
It is possible. Yes, it is possible. That's why it is possible today also. And that's why Supreme Buddha's teaching is called Akaliko, Sanditthiko. It's visible here and now. But take time, means jhanas is take little bit practice. Like people want to play any game, but they are not easily, it means not in a one shot, not in a one game, they can win the match. It takes longer practice to become a fit for that game so they can win. Same thing for the meditation also. Within a one day or within a one practice, we cannot achieve the jhanas. It takes a longer practice, and then we can, okay, we can become a best cricketers. Like you're Indian, so you here the cricket is like a religion.
Thank you, Bante.
No,
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you.
Yes.
Bante, thank you. I don't have a question. I understood it quite well. I just wanted to comment that the Buddha, when he left his home, the princely home, he thought that by suffering and pain, he tried everything to achieve happiness and insight into life. So he had the experience already, and he realized that that's not the way you achieve happiness. So
yes. Yeah, in previous suttas, Buddha mentioned that.
Yeah, because I'm just reading the thick book. It's just called the Buddha, and I'm going through his early life. So it's very interesting what he went through.
Yeah, and that's why he encouraged others also not to follow that path.
Yeah,
In Dhamma talk, he mentioned that person should not engage in this two paths. One is very pleasureful life, and one is very harshful life. The person should stay in the middle life and walk constantly, and the Dhamma can be achieved. Yes, that's a good observation, and thank you for your input in here. Okay, so that's all for today. I hope that you enjoyed this our today's conversation. Read this with a couple of times because I use the Pali words and then I translate directly from there. And language is not that much great, but when you read couple of times, that you will be engaging in more and more in this sutta. Okay, so previous sutta and this sutta read equally, and at same time you will have a lot of great understanding of this. Okay, that's all for today. Let's share the good merits. Let's share the merits today we accumulate by listening Dhamma, by sharing Dhamma, by practicing meditation, observing precepts. We share this all the merits to all the heavenly beings, all the our protected deities also. By the power of this merit, they may realize the Four Noble Truths in this Gautama Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We share this merit with all the departed relatives in this life or long life of samsara, who have departed from us. We share this merit with them. By the power of this merit, they may have a good life in the next life, and they may become fortunate to escape from this harsh journey of samsara. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We share this merit with our teacher, Lokuswamino Hansa, all the monks in the monastery, all the nuns. We share this merit with them. They may also have the association of noble friends, and they may realize the Four Noble Truths in this Gautama Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We share this merit with all of you, all of your family members, relatives, friends, work colleagues. We share this merit to all of you, all the people who are donating for our land purchase in this Delhi region. We share this merit with all of them. By the power of this merit, by the power of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha in deity's protection, you may all have happy life, healthy life, long life. All the fortune comes your way. You may have the association of noble friend, and you may realize this Dhamma in this Gautama Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. That's all. Bless you all. Abhivadana Silissa Nichang Vardha Pachayino Chattaru Dhamma Vardhanti Ayuvanno Sukhang Balang Ayurarogya Sampatti Sagga Sampatti Mevacha Ato Nibbana Sampatti Minate Samichatu Sukhino.
Many merits, Bhante. Please allow us to ask for forgiveness. O Kasawandami Bhante, Maya Katam Punyang, Samina Anamoditabang,
Sadwan Modami
Samina Katam Punyang, Mayan Databang,
Sadwan Modam
Sadhu Sadhu Anamodami, O Kasandwara Tena, Katang Sabang Achayang, Kamatame Bhante,
Kaman Kamtabang
O Kasakamami Bhante, Titiyampi O Kasakamami Bhante, Tatiyampi O Kasakamami Bhante.
Kaman Sukhivantu.
Many merits, Bhante. Nabatay.
Buddha. Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
No, Buddha.
Thank you, Bhante. Namo Buddhaya.
Namaste,
Namo
Bhante. Namo Buddhaya.
Namo
Namo
Buddhaya.
Buddhaya. Thank you, Bhante.
Yuvante.
Namo
Namo
Buddhaya.
Buddhaya, Bhante.
Namo Buddhaya. See you
It
next
was
week.
beautiful. Thank
See you
you.
next week, Bhante.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye.